There are a couple of experiments that we can do at home to have a laugh ourselves with the globe theory, and they are quite quirky experiments as well. One then is to jump up in the air. Now, as we know, scientists claim the Earth is spherical and rotating at speeds of between 700 and 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, depending, on the latitude. And we all know that's obviously a very high rate of speed, but we can disprove this nonsense by simply jumping up as high as you can. Now, what happens when you jump? Well, you come straight back down to where you were. But if the Earth were indeed spinning at such a fast speed, wouldn't you land hundreds of feet away? So if you were to stand on a flatbed of a truck going 75 miles an hour and jump straight up, what would happen? You wouldn't fall straight down, you would fall obviously straight back out of the truck. This is because the truck moves, the Earth doesn't. The experiment proves the Earth is fixed in space and doesn't move, if you want to call space space. And again, you have to take into account that things move within the atmosphere for the Coriolis effect, which again we can talk about on another video, which is absolute nonsense. As the bullet fires from the gun, the Earth is still spinning. So that has to stay into fruition, as anything is jumping up and down, planes are taking off, birds, etc., etc. Nonsense. A second experiment is that we can blow. Since the Earth is supposedly a sphere, it naturally comes to assume that what would happen to people below the equator, like in Australia. So since they are underneath the sphere, wouldn't they fall off? So again, scientists come up with the mumbo jumbo theory of gravity and centrifugal force to explain away the theories. Not saying centrifugal force doesn't exist. I am saying gravity doesn't exist. So the scientists want you to think that because the Earth is so much more massive than people or things, that people will naturally stick to the bottom of the Earth because of gravity. And again, that can be disproved very simply by getting a balloon and blowing it up as big as possible. It will become a spherical shape. Now take a tiny piece of paper and rip it to the tiniest speck of paper possible to represent ourselves. And this is obviously much smaller in mass to the balloon, which represents the Earth. And then try and place that small piece of paper to the underside of the balloon, and what will happen? Unless you use Pritt stick, then it will simply fall off. And when we're thinking about people living in Australia and at the other side, or the underneath of the so-called sphere, then common sense would tell you that when you're actually looking up, you're looking down. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the common sense of a man tells us that, if nothing else, tells us that certainly there is an up and there is a down in nature, even as regards the heavens and earth. But the theory of modern astronomers and scientists necessitates the conclusion that that is not the case. Therefore, the theory of astronomers is opposed to common sense and feeling, and when you go outside in Australia, you're actually looking up, but you're looking down. Well, we all know that's nonsense. Same sort of thing of saying go outside, get a spade, start to dig as far down as possible that eventually you would hit sky. Now, it's just a great rebuttal because it is absolute nonsense. And another experiment that we can do is to get high. Okay, you can't really do it at home. Well, I suppose you can, but in different ways. You need to go out in the world. Stand on the ground and look around you. What's the farthest that you can see? Maybe it's a building, it's a tree, or a mountain. Now find some place close to it where you can get a much higher vantage point. It also works on a plane as you're about to take off. So notice how in the higher place that you are, you can see much further. You can see much more of the world the higher you get. This shows the world is flat because the higher you go, the easier it is to see over obstacles. So at the same time, it shows the world cannot be spherical, because if the world was curved, the far distance would forever remain out of view because of the Earth's curvature. It would eternally be over the horizon. So if the Earth was a sphere, it would not matter how high you went, you would still see the same thing. Since that is not the case, no matter how high you go, the horizon is always to your eye level, and you will see a complete, flat, motionless plane. I like to think of this experiment as picturing yourself in a hot air balloon, and we're living in a giant orange. And eventually, if you was to go high enough, you would see the curvature of the earth. And no matter how high you can get on this plane, guys, you are never going to see a curvature of an earth. It does not exist. The only time you will ever see a curvature of the earth is when it is a computer generated image. I also try to understand the psychology of a mind that is completely closed to understanding what we're trying to say regarding the flat earth and the science, and how much difference it would make if more people actually realized this truth that has been hidden from us for so long. But if we actually delve that little bit deeper into the psychology of people, and we notice that people always seem to have this one goal: to better our financial and social status in life. Now, no one dreams of being the best saint ever or super exceeding the spiritual miracles of the past. We are deeply rooted in consistently fanning and fueling our egos on the scale of financial and social growth. Now, this is the mindset of society universally without exception. Now, we learn not to stop, but to keep climbing that corporate ladder until we've achieved all. Now, I'm on a successful financial role, and I've got to show it. This is an understatement. Flaunt it. The game of money making and becoming successful and more successful goes on so much that we lose touch with reality. Keep our feet on the ground and reach for the stars. We have reached for the stars. We have no clue how grounded our feet are on this flat earth, but we already consider ourselves to be on par with God, based solely on our financial prowess and the ability to have things as and when we want them. We assume the garb of a false God, and it's not true. Nobody is on a par with God. We are grasshoppers, but the point will always still remain. The science is there to be seen. The science is there to be studied. If you open up your eyes, you will see for yourself the earth is not a sphere, it is not a globe, it is a flat, motionless plane. This was Nee B's Flat Earth Upload. Thank you for watching. Tap the subscribe button if you're new, and as always, let's spread this message, and please feel free to share. You guys take care, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Thanks for watching.